Hi guys, this is video tutorial on how to display a flight plan in the form of outgoing flight. There are two alternatives of displaying this flight plan, either in the form of incoming flight or in the form of outgoing flight. Let's see the difference in between these techniques of displaying this flight plan. Outgoing flight is the flight that takes place from one single city to a different city. The flight that takes place from one single city to a different city is called outgoing flight. Like from Addis to Cairo, there is one outgoing flight, and from Addis to Baghdad, another outgoing flight. From Addis to Khartoum, another outgoing flight. What does this imply to? Look at index 0, there is Addis city, and there are three cities that has a flight with Addis. There are three cities that have flight with Addis. So Addis has a flight from Addis to Cairo, Addis to Baghdad, Addis to Khartoum. So we can say that the flight that exists at index 0 from Addis to the rest of the cities can be outgoing flight. Therefore, there is one outgoing flight from Addis to Cairo. Look at Addis to Cairo. Then Addis to Baghdad. Then Addis to Baghdad. Then Addis to Khartoum. Addis to Khartoum. And these are known as outgoing flights from Addis to those cities. It's called outgoing flight. So outgoing flight means, from this definition, we can say that it's the flight that takes place from one single city to other cities. From this, what do we decide for the rest of the cities? This outgoing flight from Cairo to Addis, Cairo to Baghdad, Cairo to Addis, Cairo to Baghdad, like Cairo to Addis, Cairo to Baghdad. Two outgoing flights. And also there is outgoing flight from Baghdad to Cairo, Baghdad to Addis, Baghdad to Khartoum, like Baghdad to Cairo, Baghdad to Addis, and Baghdad to Khartoum. So we can do this one. We can say that there is outgoing flight from Baghdad to Cairo, Baghdad to Addis, Baghdad to Khartoum. So this can be represented in the form of Baghdad to Cairo, Baghdad to Khartoum, and Baghdad to Addis. Three outgoing flights. The same is true for okay. The same is true for Khartoum. There are two outgoing flights from Khartoum. That is from Khartoum to Addis, Khartoum to Baghdad. That is Khartoum to Baghdad, Khartoum to Addis. This is known as outgoing flight. So Khartoum to Addis, Khartoum to Baghdad. So if this is called outgoing flight, what is incoming flight? Before implementing outgoing flight, let's see one example of incoming flight. If this is outgoing flight from Khartoum to Addis and from Khartoum to Baghdad, The incoming flight is for the incoming flight for Khartoum is from Addis to Khartoum, and from Baghdad to Khartoum. This is incoming flight. Incoming flight from Addis to Khartoum, incoming flight from Baghdad to Khartoum. Therefore, incoming flight is the flight that takes place from two different cities to a single city. Whereas outgoing flight is the flight that takes place from single city to the other cities. This is the difference between incoming flight and outgoing flight. Now, in this video, we are going to see how to implement outgoing flight. Outgoing flight. Therefore, okay, let me read this. Okay. For example, I want to see only outgoing flight from Addis to those cities. From Addis to Cairo, Addis to Baghdad, and from Addis to Khartoum. There are 3 outgoing flights. How do we display this? Very easy. To display this, first of all, we should have a pointer that should search any adjacent city to the Addis city. Here, how many adjacent cities are there? Okay, one mistake I've made here is the cities. Okay, this graph was like this previously. It was it's like this, and it's like this. Okay, there are 3 outgoing flights from Addis. Therefore, how do we display? How do we know how many outgoing flights from Addis are? To do this, we have to have a pointer which is going to start from the adjacent north of the Addis city. So what we have to do is, first of all, we have to create a pointer with this kind of syntax: node asterisk source. So this is a pointer. This pointer source, this pointer named source. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this a pointer. This pointer with the name source has a role of finding any adjacent city to the Addis city. So once we declare in this way, what we have to do is, let me remove this. What we have to do is, this pointer should start from the head at 0 next. Head at 0, first of all, head at 0 means it is the Addis city. Addis is located at head at 0. This 0 implies the index in which this Addis city is found. Head at 0 next means the node which immediately attached to the Addis city. Head at 0 next is immediately, which one is it? It's Cairo. Head at 0 is Addis. Head at 0 next is Cairo. So source equals to head as 0 next, immediately this source pointer its location became at this point, immediately to the location of Cairo, because it says source equals to head at 0 next. In other way, we are saying source pointer is just next to the address city, that is here, exactly to the same location where the Cairo is found. Okay, now it is time to check whether the location of the source pointer has a node or not. Okay, now this source pointer should have to be checked whether it has a node in that location or not. How do we check? Just by using this while loop. While source is different from null. If source is different from null means if the location of the source has a node with some city inside it. With some city inside it. Okay. Then what we do? We display the city. Say out city found at that location. If the location of the source pointer has a node, we immediately say that there is outgoing flight from address to that city where the source pointer is found. That means address has outgoing flight from address to Cairo. Then to check the next outgoing flight from address, this source pointer should have to increment one step forward. How? Once we display source should have to increment one step forward. It should move one step forward by just doing source equals source next. Source should have to move one step forward, just like this, due to this code. And then the same happens. We validate whether the source pointer has a node or not in that location. Is source different from null? Yes, there is some node in that location. So we display what? We just say there is outgoing flight from address to Bahata, which has the same location with the source pointer. Once we display using this, again source increments one step forward, so source moves one step forward. And then we check inside the while loop whether the location of the source pointer has a node or not. Yes, it has a node. So we display just saying there is outgoing flight from address to the cartoon, which has the same location with the source pointer. Once we display, the source pointer should move one step forward. It moves one step forward. Okay. Then we check whether the location of the source is null or not. Now it is null because there is no node that has the same exact location with the source pointer. That means address doesn't have any outgoing flight from address to other city rather than those three. Completed. By now we have displayed 3 outgoing flights from address to Cairo, address to Bahata, address to Khartoum. Now okay, now we increment the index from 0 to 1. First we started displaying outgoing flight from address. Now we have to just display outgoing flight from Cairo. To do this, the index of the outgoing flight should have to be updated. That is from Cairo. To display outgoing flight from Cairo, first of all, the source pointer should have to start from head at 0. No, head at 1. Next, this source pointer should have to start from head at 1. Next means next to Cairo. It should take the address of the city which is next to Cairo. Now we validate the source pointer, whether it has a node in that location or not. So it has, therefore we display here saying Cairo has outgoing flight from Cairo to Addis. Once we display, source should have to increment one step forward. Then here we check inside the while loop whether source is different from null. Yes, it is different from null. Therefore, we display saying Cairo has outgoing flight from Cairo to Bahardar. Again, source increments one step forward here. Now, when we check inside the while loop, source is different from null. That is false. No node that has exact location with the source pointer. Therefore, while loop terminates. That means Cairo doesn't have any more outgoing flight. To display another outgoing flight, this index should have to increment to 2. Okay, here increment should have to increment the index should have to increment to 2. That means from Bahardar. From Bahardar. So we are going to display any outgoing flight from Bahardar to the other cities. Source starts from here up to next, that is source starts from here up to is exactly Bahardar. So here up to next is exactly Cairo, the location where Cairo is found. So we check source is different from null. Yes, different from null because of Cairo. So we display there is outgoing flight from Bahardar to Cairo. Then we increment source, still not different from null. It's different from null, therefore we display outgoing flight from Bahardar to Khartoum, and then we increment still different from null, not equals null, that is true, implies that Bahardar has outgoing flight from Bahardar to Addis, and then we increment here, and then we check. Now the source pointer is null, implies that it doesn't have any node in exactly that location. Now to display another outgoing flight, we have to increment the index from which the source pointer starts. Okay, that is 3. That's 3. So source starts exactly from head at 3 next. That is head at 3 next exactly where the address is found. Is it not? No. So we have outgoing flight from Khartoum to Addis. Then source increments one step forward, and then source is different from null still. Therefore, we display outgoing flight from Khartoum to Bahardar, and then source increments to this location, and then we check whether source is null. Yes, now it is null, and there is no outgoing flight from Khartoum to the location of the source. Completed. That is the way we can display outgoing flights. That is the way we display outgoing flight. Just we have done all of them, and we're going to see next the way program can do what we have been talking. Yes, okay, this is outgoing flight. All outgoing flights takes place from single city to the other cities. Addis to Cairo, Addis to Bahardar, Addis to Port. Just the same way I told you before. Now let's see the program that does this one. Okay, outgoing flight. Here in our case, p pointer is the source pointer that we were talking about. Just forget about count variable. For int I equals 0 as data n in our case, n is 4. A node type p equals head at I next. I for the by the way, I for the first time is 0, and head at 0 next means in our case which city is it? That is Addis. What is p? The source pointer that we were talking about. You can do this if you need source. So head at 0 next is what? Head at 0 next is Cairo. Okay, forget this. And then cout, set with a source, destination, time. Okay. If p equals null means there is no outgoing flight. If source equals null means there is no outgoing flight. No flight from, yeah. No flight from head at 0 city. If source equals null, there is no flight from what's head at 0 city. Head at 0 city is Addis. From Addis, no outgoing flight. Else means if source is not null, there is outgoing flight from Addis to the location of the source pointer. Here, just say this one, source. If source is different from null, just display cout series width of 8 head at 0 city means what is that? Addis city, and then to source city. Look at cout, there is outgoing flight from head at 0 city. Okay, head at 0 city means that is Addis. From Addis, and source city means that is in our case what? Cairo, because source is exactly where the source is. It's at head at 0 next. Head at 0 next is what? That is source. Therefore, there is outgoing flight from head at 0 city, which is Addis, to source right arrow city. In our case, Cairo. That happens if source is different from null. The location of the pointer is not null. Okay. After we display outgoing flight from Addis to Cairo, next time after displaying outgoing from Addis to Cairo, previously source is here. After displaying outgoing flight from Addis to Cairo, immediately source should have to increment one step forward here. That happens with this. Source equals source next. Where is source pointer now? At Bahardar. Is source different from null? Yes, because there is Bahardar in that location. If source is different from null, there is outgoing flight from Addis to Bahardar or that pointer. So head at 0 city is the source city, and this is the destination city, and this is what? Bardar. This is Addis. From Addis to next Bardar. Okay, Bardar. Okay. Next, to display the next, this goes one step forward. And it may arrive at Khartoum. Still not null. It is not null. Therefore, we display head at 0 city, which is Addis, and source right arrow city, that is Khartoum. Khartoum. So we display in this way outgoing flights. How many outgoing flights have we displayed here? That's 3. Addis to Cairo, Addis to Baghdad, Addis to Khartoum. This is the way we can display using program. So to display outgoing flight at index 0, what we have to do is I increments to 1, and then I increments to 1, and then source pointer starts from 1 next. Source starts from here at 1 next, which is here at 1 next is here at 1 next is here. Source is different from null, therefore else part is executed here. Is source different from null? Yes. Then display head at 1 next. There is outgoing flight from head at 1 next means head at 1 city means that is here Cairo, outgoing flight from Cairo to source city. What source city? Where source city source pointer is found at Addis. Therefore source right arrow city means in another way we are just referring Addis. There is outgoing flight from Cairo to Addis. That is source right arrow city. So outgoing flight from these two immediately Addis. Then what? Source increments 1 step forward using this. So here source increments 1 step forward, and still it's different from null. Therefore we display head at 1 city, that is Cairo, and then as a destination source right arrow city, that is what? That is Bardar. That is Bardar next. Bardar. And then this pointer increments to where? 1 step forward. Now it is null. Now source is different from null is 4, so while loop terminates. That means it has displayed all outgoing flight from Cairo to Addis, Cairo to Bardar, and no more. And the same happens for all these. And just finish for index 2 and index 3. I hope this is not going to be difficult for you, and try to see the source code properly. Maybe the variable name here is p in case of your source code, but I've changed it to source, and try to relate this. Thank you so much.